Hey everyone, Craig Williams here, back with another video. In this video I'm going to show you some tips on mixing your kick and bass together. I had one of the guys hit me up and ask for a video on this, and I thought it was pretty good, and hopefully it can help you mix your tracks a little bit better and give them a bit more punch. So instead of me just sitting here and just talking about God knows what for however long, I'm just going to show you 3 different tracks which have 2 completely different sounding bass lines, and show you what I've done to make those bass lines work, so then hopefully you guys will be able to use some of those techniques in your own production. So first up is a track that I've done called Connect. I'll just play you a little bit and then you'll be able to hear the bass line, and I'll tell you what I've done.
There was something missing.
So there you go. It's a bit of a banger, but hopefully when it gets released, you guys will like it. So for the bass line, I got this new monotribe and I wanted to test it out. So that's the bass line there. I'll run quickly through the effects that I've got on there. I've just got an EQ, and this is just giving it a little bit more bite to the attack, so you can punch it through the mix a little bit more. Got the good old camel fat on there. No distortion. It's just really the compression on there. Sausage fattener. Just to give it a little bit more, it brings out the noise because the monotribe is an analog synth. I've got compressor, which is doing most of the work. This is the sidechain compression, and this is really giving it that pumping sound. So I'll just give you can see lots of gain reduction if I bypass it. So there you go. This is the main, like this sidechain is the main thing that's helping everything sort of sit together. After that, I've just got a filter which comes into effect just at the end, just there, and I had a tuner on there because I was just making sure that all the notes were sort of in tune, and I was just playing it with the ribbon. The kick is the kick from the monotribe. And then I just put a sub kick on there, so it gives it a little bit more weight to help push through a bit more. And then, so all I've done in those is a little bit of EQ, and then put them together, and then just put another EQ on there, giving it a little bit more weight in the low end, and just compress them together with the PSP vintage warmer. And all I usually do on this is just add a little bit of drive and a little bit of knee, and because I'm mainly just trying to glue sounds together, it tends to give it that sort of whole sound. So for this one, to help the kick and bass sit together, like I said before, the main thing was the compression here. I've got all these going to a kick and bass bus, which I can solo out, and just loop this section. So this is without the compression on the monotribe. You can hear there lots of frequencies fighting. If I bring up the master, go back to this one. Lots going on there, and everything just sort of getting muddied up. So to give a bit more movement to the actual synth sound, and to also make room for the kick, I have absolutely squashed the hell out of the sound. So this is with the compression. As you can hear there, kick sort of coming through, giving a lot more room for the synth. helping it to sit a bit more. So this is one technique you can use. I don't tend to use a compressor this hard usually, but on this one I obviously have. So this is one way you can get your instruments to give a bit more room for the kick, is just to sidechain compress it. And if you don't know what that is, just type it into YouTube. There'll be like 5,000 videos on it. And then just adjust the threshold until you get a nice happy amount of gain reduction, and you get the kick coming through a little bit more and whatnot. Also, to add to this, I've sent it to the kick and the synth, like the bass synth sounds, to a bus, and on the bus I've got EQ, just taking off the very lows there. It's just sort of cleaned up the mix a little bit more, and also just sent it to a bus compressor, and this is just sort of gluing those two sounds together again. Just got around about 3.5 to 4 dB gain reduction. Of compression. Just a little bit of attack and a fairly slow release, and only a 4:1 ratio. Just trying to glue the sounds together and everything like that, so it helps them sound a little bit better, a little bit more polished. Okay, this is another track that I've done. It's called Beef. It should be coming out a new EP that I've done with Justin Weisberg called the Meat EP. For this one, I've got a big 808 bass as the main sort of part. Actually, I'll quickly play a section of the track so you get the feel of it. So there you go. For this one, I've chosen something a little bit different. For the kick, I've got something fairly small. Try not to go with something too big for the kick, because you've already got a lot of the frequencies taken up. I think the main thing with mixing your kick and bass is just not to be layering up on frequencies in the bass area, otherwise it starts to get muddy, it starts to get too overpowering. So the kick I've got for this is just something really little. It's just nice and small little kick there. I've done some pretty crazy EQ into it. I've just taken off the highs, dipped it down at 500, and then added a little bit of weight. At 80 hertz, I found that the 808s usually sit in around like the 50 to 60 hertz sort of range. So by boosting it here, it's not too bad. If I started boosting it in the same area as the 808, that's when it starts to get a bit muddy. Again, I've just added the PSP vintage warmer, again just with a little bit of drive and knee. Helps just give it a little bit more. So there, I didn't want the click, it was just too overpowering, so I've taken that off. And then for the 808 bass, I've got EQ, taking out the highs there, because when I was mixing it in mono, the 808 just destroyed everything. I couldn't hear anything else in the mix. So if I just, you can sort of see where a lot of the sound's coming in there. Added sausage fattener just for a little bit of colour, and it's hardly, it's like 2% I've added there. Enveloper to give it a bit more click on the actual attack. You can hear there's a big difference there. L1 for just keeping the sounds. If I take it off, you'll see there's a lot of dynamics in there, and I wanted to sort of just have a bit more control over the sound. And then gain, because I was just playing around with trying to get the right level in there. So if I play the two together, the kick does get eaten up on some things, but I'm really just got it in there to keep time. It's not so much to drive the track. The 808 bass is the thing that's driving the track. But again, it was a case of just cutting frequencies and making sure that I didn't boost too much on both tracks, because obviously it's the same frequency and can just get too much in the mix. And you can hear the two there, they sort of they play off each other and add a bit more groove to the track also. Okay, this is the third track I show you, which has another different bass line again. This one is more of a clean sort of synth bass. It's from the track Chicken. I'll just play a little bit. So for this one, there's a couple of elements that to be wary of. We've obviously got the kick and the bass in there. Just loop a section. The other thing also is the toms I've got in there. So for this, as I showed you in one of the previous videos, I've got the kick and then I've got the click on there as well, so it helps the kick punch through a bit more. And again, the same, I've just done a little bit of EQ on each and then EQ'd them both together, and then again, PSB vintage warmer, bit of drive and a bit of knee on there to help glue the sounds together. For the bass, it's pretty simple. Most of the work is done in the bass. It's just the ES2 or ES1, sorry. And it's just I've started with the producer bass and then tweaked it until I got sort of the sound that I wanted. I have boosted a little bit just to add a little bit in the highs there. Like, just helps add a little bit more bite, and then I've added a tiny little bit down 65 Hertz, because on this bass, on the kick, sorry, again I've just added it at 80 Hertz. So I haven't boosted the bass at 85 Hertz, because again it's when it starts to get muddy. If you wanted to, you could even go as far as to cut a little bit at 85 on the bass to add room for the kick. That's one method you can use just to help create a little bit more room. But for what I've done is I've just added the compressor, and I've just got around 5 dB gain reduction. Because the bass line isn't a sustaining bass line, it's just punchy and short notes, I could just get away with just 5 dB gain reduction. So there you go. Hopefully my explanation sort of gives you a little bit of insight in what I do, and it sort of helped you a bit more. But they're just a couple of techniques that I use to try and get things to sit a little bit better. Okay, and if you want to see any more, or if you've got any other further questions about this, feel free to drop us a line. Make sure you subscribe and you head over to my Facebook and click a like on there. Or if you want some free music, just head over to soundcloud.com, Craig Williams Music. All the links are in the description. Until next time, see you later.